This is
the Bottom Bins Podcast.
Oh yeah! Hello and welcome back to the Bottom Bins Podcast. I'm Richie, joined here by my co-host today, Oren. How's things?
Not too bad, buddy. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. And joined today by Connor as well. How's things, Connor?
Not too bad.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Well, today we have another summer transfer special coming at you today. Actually, not that much movement in the market this week, but we do have a few that we can dive deep into and give you our lowdown on these players. So, first place, I think, to start, lads, is obviously we've seen Arsenal an influx of incoming transfers, but a couple of players have left the club, and probably the most notable one, Granit Xhaka. Now, look, it's no secret his time at Arsenal was definitely quite 50-50. Some of the fans loved him, then the fans hated him, but then they loved him again last season, and he did play a very important role in that midfield last year. So, Oren, coming to you first then. Look, with Xhaka, you do lose a leader. 29 years of age now. He was sort of coming into that peak of his career, and you could definitely see that last season. So even with the gaining of Declan Rice, they're still losing a massive and really an integral cog in the squad in Granit Xhaka, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Look, I know, as you said, he had a tumultuous time at Arsenal at times, but he was their captain for a stage. I think even he was given the vice captaincy back for a while there as well. Towards the end of the season, he captained Arsenal a couple of times last year. So obviously a leader, and obviously a leader in the dressing room, despite maybe some behavioural issues at times. But he was obviously someone that was well respected, and I'm sure that we will see this whenever the transfer is fully confirmed. Whenever there's farewell posts and stuff, all the players will come out and say how much Granit Xhaka meant to their game and stuff. We've seen how important he was last year, and to be honest, he could have been absolutely fantastic beside Declan Rice, considering how good he was alongside Thomas Partey. With Declan Rice, he could have been fantastic, but I understand Declan Rice will play more of a role that where he plays Partey's position and Xhaka's position. So a good move for him. Xabi Alonso really wanted him. Apparently he was integral to the deal, and he was really persuading Xhaka to move, because look, Arsenal is a good project to be in at the minute. So yeah, a good move for Arsenal. 25 million. I didn't expect them to get 25 million. That is a ridiculous fee for a player with 1 year on his contract and being 29. So that's a massive fee for Arsenal to receive. But Leverkusen's getting a good player as well with a heap of experience, especially in the Bundesliga as well. So he'll slot right back in.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Warren. I think even just as you mentioned there, 25 million in the fee for a 29-year-old it's highlighted that excellent business that Arsenal have been able to do over these last couple of seasons. I mean, the fact that they've secured a fee as big as that is it's outrageous, to be honest, but fair play to them. Connor, look, Xhaka, again, just as Owen had said, one of those polarizing figures, but big miss in the dressing room and definitely impacted Arsenal on the field this season. Do you think maybe it might have served Arsenal a wee bit better to possibly keep him as like a rotation player, or is this kind of the time to move him on?
Well, as you said, like they got 25 million for him, which is a good deal for a 29-year-old who is on the last year of his contract. I think it was more down to him looking to leave the club, because I think Arteta would have liked to have kept him. As you said, former captain. That obviously ended badly, but he was still vice captain and a top player last year. 7 goals, 7 assists. Really good player. I've seen he was like the only player to play over 50 times for Emery, Wenger, and Arteta. He's been consistent. He's nearly 300 games. He rarely misses games. The only time he does is when he gets suspended, which happens every so often. He's kind of took that out of his game now. But yeah, I think he'd be a big miss at Arsenal, because I think he is a leader and he has that experience. And for Leverkusen, it's a massive signing, but it just seems to be one of them ones where he wanted to go. It looked like he was going to leave. I seen 2021, he kind of was hinting that he wanted to leave, and that Arsenal rejected like something like 15 million from Roma. So it just shows like how much better he's got. Like he's aged 2 years and he's went up in price by like 10 million, which is crazy. But yeah, I think Arsenal would have liked to have kept him maybe for one more year. Probably would have even risked just losing him for free. But I think it felt like the right time to go for him. And he ends on a high, which after 2019, no one would have expected. Because I know a few Arsenal fans and they were done with him, but now they're going to miss him. And you see in all them posts, as Owen says, a lot of like farewell posts, emotional posts, and just shows how well he's done to resurrect his career.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, that incident in 2019 was definitely an infamous one, and I mean the fact that he's left now on such a positive note, and has left as one of those characters in the dressing room is a real positive thing to see. So I mean, you're glad to see that for Xhaka himself, and look, we wish him all the best in the Bundesliga. So moving it on then to Everton, who have finally got their first player through the door in this transfer window, but maybe not in a position that they necessarily needed to strengthen. I think a striker should have been their first priority, but Ashley Young. Now, of course, in our first summer transfer episode, we were all quite shocked that Aston Villa had let Ashley Young go, had let him run his contract down and didn't renew. And I believe at the time you believed that it was just sort of like a refresh going on at Villa, and that's why Ashley Young was allowed to leave the club. But listen, he's left Villa, moved to Everton, and what you would say is, in terms of that depth and given Everton something different at fullback, he definitely offers that, doesn't he, Orn?
I think he's fantastic. Like, even when we done our end of season awards last a month or two ago, I had him as my best OAP. This is a man who made 29 appearances in the Premier League last year at 37 or 38 years of age. Like, he's class. And he hasn't really showed signs of slowing down. I know his paces went a wee bit, but he still fights for every team he's played for. We've seen it with Man United. We've seen it when he went back for Watford, and we've seen it with Aston Villa. He'll play anywhere, anywhere. Left back, left mid, right back. He'll play anywhere for you. He's that type of player. So I think it's a fantastic signing for Everton. And I know people will question him because of his age and stuff, but I think if there's one man who you shouldn't be questioning about his age, it's Ashley Young. Because he's timeless, it seems, to be honest. And I think for 1 year, it's a fantastic deal. That he's the type of player. Look, we were talking about it yesterday in person, the three of us. Everton's realistic targets in the next few years is going to be surviving relegation, and trying to get mid-table. It's a different Everton to that of maybe 7, 8 years ago. But that's why they need to sign players for that type of scrap, for that type of target. They can't be signing. Well, they're not going to be able to sign the type of players that would be looking to push for European football. They're not. They don't have that pull at the minute. But Ashley Young is a superb signing with heaps of experience. Not just in England, obviously in Italy as well. He had a successful period with Inter Milan. So to be honest, I think he'll be fantastic in Everton's side under who is their manager at the minute? Sean Dyche. Yes, they play quite a defensive style of football, but he's got the ability to get forward. He's got the ability to play that long pass. If they get that striker, I fully agree with you, Richie. They need a striker. However, he's used to the dogfights. He's used to scrapping. He's a leader. He's captained Manchester United on many occasions, and that says enough. So on a free transfer, I think it's a brilliant piece of business.
Yeah, completely agreed, lad. Completely agreed. This is a guy with heaps of experience at all levels in the Premier League. Probably more used to playing in sort of the top half of the table, especially his time at Villa and his time at Man United. But look, he's definitely going to come in there and he's going to do a job for Everton. It's like you said, Owen. He's an attacking outlet, and he gives them something different that they maybe don't quite have at fullback at the minute. I mean, Mikalenko is a pretty decent defender, but doesn't give you any sort of output attacking wise. There's no point in saying otherwise. Seamus Coleman is slowing down quite a bit, and you know, does he still offer the same thing that he did 5 years ago? I don't think so. And then they have that young right back Nathan Patterson as well, who again very good going forward, but doesn't really give you anything defensively. So Ashley Young is definitely like a very competent defender, but a very competent attacker as well. And I think that's what you get at either left back or right back with him. Connor, look, he is 38 now. Everton do have sort of this plethora of elder statesmen within their team, but look, it's only a 1 year deal. Uh, How well do you think Ashley Young can slot in that Everton side?
Oh, I think he'll slot in perfectly. To be honest, he can play right back, left back. As you said, he offers a lot going forward defensively. Good. Villa last season obviously had a really good season. He started 23 Premier League games, so that shows the quality he still possesses. Obviously 38 years of age, but a top player. And there was other Premier League clubs after him, but he chose Everton because I think realistically he probably believes he's going to start most games. As you said, obviously they have a Coleman's obviously going to be injured. And Patterson, he got injured towards the end of the season too, so he probably will get a good chance in there. And I've seen like John McGinn came out and was just like, it's a massive loss, and he's a top guy and a top player. I think that's a big thing as well in the changing room. He'll bring out positivity, and as Oren said, like he's played, I've seen 17 consecutive top flight seasons. He's like 400 over 400 appearances in the Premier League. Like this is a really experienced player, a really good player. Obviously, won at United and at Inter Milan. So I think Everton are getting a top professional who is still good enough to play in the Premier League, and I think it's a great signing. But as we keep saying, it's only Everton's first signing, and they need to make a few more. They need a striker badly, but you know, still actually on a free as well. Uh, really, really good signing, and as Owen said as well, like they're going to be in the relegation battle next season. So his experience, maybe he doesn't have that experience down there, but he brings a positivity. And you've seen even like last season, even Connor Cody came back in the team, players like that, and Tarkovsky as well. Like it did help them to stay up. So I think it's a really, really good signing.
Yeah, look, I think it's a good signing as well. I think to get somebody with that experience in through the door is really vital for Everton, to be honest. Well, going to Burnley now, up to the newly promoted sides. We haven't really done much talking about them so far in these transfer episodes, but young English goalkeeper Trafford, uh, double penalty save in the European Under-21 Championships final. England managed to win that game 1-0 against Spain, taking home the tournament. And look, this is a player with zero Premier League experience, was playing for Bolton last season. But he has went for £19 million. Manchester City Academy graduate. Um, and look, I did watch that Under-21 final, and I thought he was very good in the game. His distribution was pretty good. His shot stopping ability, very, very good. Seems to be a real confident goalkeeper. Oren, for a guy who hasn't played a minute in the Premier League, 19 million. It's a lot of money, isn't it?
It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Like I understand Manchester City is a good selling club, but something has to be. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say anything, but um, like Burnley and City are obviously they have good relations now, especially with Company as a manager. They've signed a couple of players from there, but 19 million to me is not only such a big risk for a club who's just got promoted to the Premier League. They're signing a player who at 19 million he has to be their starting goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? So they're signing him without any Premier League experience to go and play in the toughest league in the world for them to try and stay up. It's absolutely ridiculous. I can't fathom it, to be honest. Like, Christian Walton is the Ipswich goalkeeper, right? They got 23 clean sheets. He got 23 clean sheets in the league last year, got them promoted to the Championship. I know he's 27, yes, take that into account. But if Trafford is worth 19 million and this is the best goalkeeper in your league, what's he worth? 10 million, 13 million? It's ludicrous. He's not. Do you know what I mean? No harm to the fella. They're both obviously brilliant, brilliant goalkeepers, but that's such a huge, huge risk for Burnley. I'm not saying he won't fulfill that price tag. He absolutely has the potential to do that. I'm definitely not saying that. However, just on an initial fee, 19 million for somebody with absolutely zero Premier League experience is madness. Clearly, he's shown that he is good enough for big moments, like especially with that penalty save in the Euro final in the last kick of the game, crucial time in the game. But I don't know. I don't know. Only time will tell in this transfer. There's not much else you can say about it.
Yeah, I think. Look, the thing with him is in that game, especially in that final, he was very impressive. I did sort of sit up and take notice of him. But look, I think Southampton adopted this model last year, and we seen how unsuccessful it was. Buying players from academy or from academies that hadn't really played any minutes in the Premier League. The only flip side I would offer to it is like Lavia had seen no action in the Premier League, and he come in and now like we're talking about Lavia being a 40 to 50 million pound player. So look, I totally understand what you're saying. Or 19 million is a lot of money to throw out especially on a goalkeeper, where goalkeepers are so desirable nowadays. It's a lot of money to throw out in somebody who realistically has no top flight experience. But look, it's like you said, it's just one of those ones I think we're just going to have to wait and see and see how he performs. Maybe by the end of the season, we could be talking about Trafford as a 30 or 40 million pound goalkeeper. We never know. Connor, look,
But if you see, sorry to interrupt, if you see like that transfer for Spurs, that Italian goalkeeper going, who statistically was one of the best in Europe and in Italy last year, and he went for what, 10 million or 9 million or something? Do you know?
no, he went for 19 million as well.
Or 19 million? Well, even still, that's the exact same transfer fee for someone with a lot more European experience. You know what I mean? Like top flight experience. Doesn't matter necessarily that it's not Premier League experience, but actual top flight experience. I don't know. It's just for 19 million, there's other goalkeepers out there, especially like even your man Levakovic, the Croatia keeper, who is a phenomenal keeper, by the way. He's going for 6 million by the looks of things. Like, there was other options. It's just, to me, it seems like a lot of money, but yeah, time will tell. I could eat my words, and I hope I do. I hope he does turn out to be successful, but it's just a lot of money initially.
Well, I think one of the stories that was floating about that is so intriguing about it is at Vincent Company's time at Man City. He spent a lot of time watching the academy and spent a lot of time on the pitches coaching some of the young lads. And I think from what I've read online, I think Trafford was a player that he was actually very, very interested in, and a player that he worked quite closely with when he was sort of doing his coaching badges. So I think maybe that's where that link has initially come from. Look, Connor, again, similar sort of question. Look, he has no top flight experience, so this is going to be a defence and a goalkeeper that's going to be very busy next season, because it's Burnley and they're going to be put under pressure. But can you see this guy succeeding? Have you seen enough of him to justify a 19 million pound price tag?
To be honest, I haven't seen enough of him. To be honest, I've seen a bit of him, obviously during the Euro campaign. 6 consecutive clean sheets, the first time in history. You got to give him credit for that. Obviously had the pen save, and then he's got up and made the other save. I do think, obviously, he doesn't have that experience. He is 19, or he's 20 years of age. He's English. 19 million isn't really that risky in my view, because even like this with that English tax kind of thing, even if he's not that great, I still think they'll get a lot of money back for him. Um, Everything I've read about him, he's a confident keeper, and he's really, he's obviously got, he can make top saves, he commands the box, and as you said, Connor is passing as well. I seen like a stat which was mad. It was like his 21-22 season, he has the most assists for a goalkeeper in any of the top 4 English leagues. He has 3 assists for Bolton. He obviously won a trophy at Bolton last season. He seems to be a very, very good keeper. I can understand your point saying, Burnley's going to be under pressure. Would they not want a more experienced keeper? But it seems to be Company is trying to take Burnley a kind of different direction, play better football, which he will do because he can pass the ball. I think Burnley could be like a dark horse this year, like do well. I think Company's a good manager. As you said, he's got that relationship with Pep as well. And I've heard Pep was really impressed with the goalkeeper. Obviously, he's not going to get in City's team because of one of the best keepers in the world. Um, but I think it is, obviously it's a risk because it's a 20-year-old, he hasn't played in the Premier League, but I think it's a risk worth taking. And as you said, if he's worked with him in the academy Company, he knows what he's about. And anything I've read about him, the English coach was talking about him, and Pep and any academy managers and Bolton manager were positive about him, just saying like as a keeper, he is, he still has ways to go, but he definitely has the talent there.
Yeah, look, I think the signing is going to be a really interesting one, and it is definitely one that we are going to cover in depth on the podcast next season when we're talking about Premier League. So moving it on to Chelsea, lads. Another outgoing this week at Chelsea. Cesar Azpilicueta, long-standing club servant, definitely I would say a club legend at Chelsea, captain of Chelsea as well. Had his contract terminated by mutual agreement, and he has signed for Atletico Madrid. Now, lads, again, this is a 36, 37-year-old here, moving to Diego Simeone's side. Look, I don't think it's any.
He's thing. He's 33.
So, was that all, lad?
No, I was the same.
Oh, I thought Azpilicueta was past like 35.
He's 33.
I thought he was ancient. Um, Look, it's no secret, boys. In the last 18 months, Azpilicueta has declined quite substantially. Like we said it a couple of times on the podcast last season. Like this was a player that just is not the same player anymore. So, Oren, coming to you first, what sort of role is Azpilicueta going to play at Atletico? And like, do you think he's going in there to be a starter, or is he a rotation player? What do you think?
I don't think he would have left Chelsea if he wasn't going to start, to be 100% honest. And I think in a slower league and a much slower system under Diego Simeone, I think he would actually excel at Atletico Madrid. Um, Obviously, being Spanish and all, it'll help him as well. But interesting thing about this transfer is he had agreed a deal with Inter Milan, and then Atletico Madrid came in calling, and obviously, when you have the chance to move back to Spain, that's probably why he jumped at that opportunity. But I think do you know what? Yeah, as Connor said, 33. Like he's not that old, and yes, he has declined a bit. But as I've said, like in a quite much slower system, I think he'll benefit from that. And I think do Atletico play a back five usually, so he's going to have a lot of help anyway. Do you know what I mean? And Diego Simeone's going to help him. Diego Simeone's not stupid either. He doesn't sign players just for the sake of it, apart from maybe Matt Doherty. But like, he's not stupid. And Azpilicueta, I think if he was going to be a rotation player, he would have just stayed at Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? But look, free transfer, you can't really go wrong. He's winding down his career. He's got one last big move because it's a huge club, Atletico. So fair play to Azpilicueta. He's leaving the Premier League. Maybe not as a Premier League legend for everybody, but definitely as a Chelsea legend.
Yeah. Look, I think the thing you'd say about Azpilicueta is he's won everything in the game, that he could win at Chelsea. And like he definitely was an integral and a very, very important captain. And I think if you read any of the reports around him, he's meant to be a really, really nice guy as well. He was like somebody that they loved to have around the dressing room, loved to have around Cobham, because he was meant to be just a really, really nice fella and would go above and beyond to help the staff. So I think in that sense, he'll add that to the culture at Atletico Madrid as well. Connor, in the last 6 months as well, we actually seen Atleti play probably the most attacking brand of football that they've ever played under Simeone. They were scoring goals galore. So, look, as is going to come in there, he'll probably slot in at centre back. As Owen says, they do predominantly play a five at the back. He will be alongside that back three in some capacity. For himself, moving back to Spain, winding down his career, right move for him?
Yeah, definitely. It was a strange one as well because it was a few years ago, wasn't it? Like he was linked to Barcelona, he was going to leave, and then Chelsea signed him on for a 2-year extension, which is actually rare for Chelsea. But yeah, definitely, I think it's a good move. As Oren says, well, like he's versatile. He can play centre back, play right back, left back. He can play anywhere. Um, as you said as well, everything you read about him is positive as a personality. Obviously became their club captain in 2019. He's played over 500 times for Chelsea. I think he is definitely a Chelsea legend. You could argue he's a Premier League legend because he's won everything in the game. He's won 2 Premier League titles. He played under Conte in centre back. He played under Mourinho at right back. He could play anywhere. Great signing for Atletico. I thought, he's going to have to replace Matt Doherty, who's an absolute legend, but I think he has enough in him to do it. But there's just, as you said, like 11-year career. I thought he was older as well, to be honest. He's been about for so long. He's played like 40 games for Spain. I seen like he's just won everything in the game, and he's just a top player. And as you said, like he is going to be under pressure. Well, obviously, like Atletico at the back are very strong, but they are trying to play a bit more attacking football because I think they've realised that defensive style isn't going to really work anymore. But I think you're getting a player there that maybe people will say, well, maybe Chelsea didn't get rid of him a few years ago. They're getting rid of him now. Maybe they think let's cut ties with him. But I think you're getting a good experienced player, a really solid defender, and I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago he looked like he was done, and then he came back again. So like, I still think he has now a year or two in him, and for Atletico, he's going back, as Owen said as well. It must be family reasons because he was always looking Spain, so he's going back to Spain where he started his career, and I think it's just a great deal all round. Chelsea got a player for 11 years, club legend, and Atletico are getting a really good experienced player. And under Simeone, we've seen so many players, even like I just think of Trippier, he improved so much. Like he maybe can give him that extra 2 or 3 years at the top level.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Look, Simeone's no slouch, and the signings that he does make normally do work out. So it's definitely an interesting one. Definitely an interesting one. Well, moving it on then, lads. The departure of Firmino. So Salah, Mane, Firmino very much broken up now at Liverpool. Only Mohamed Salah standing, but Firmino has moved to Saudi Arabia to Al Ali. Big contract. But a big player really. And at 30 years of age, I thought he maybe could have give a bit more to the European game. I feel like I say this about all the Saudi transfers, to be honest, but I know it's monumental money to turn down. But I feel like this was a player that possibly could have given another couple of years in Europe. Was an integral part of Liverpool's squad for many, many years. Not your traditional sort of striker, more of a centre forward link player. Excellent on the ball, passing ability, very, very good as well. And look, maybe not the best finisher in world football, but can definitely chip in with goals too. Oren, just another export from the Premier League to the Saudi League, and definitely a big export from the Premier League.
Oh yeah, look, no matter what kind of position he played up front, he was elite, and he was elite. He was a very very good player for Liverpool. I didn't expect him to be as good when he did sign for Hoffenheim. So fair play to him. He really did excel in the Premier League. I fully agree. I think he did have a couple more years in Europe. Like whenever he first announced he was leaving Liverpool, and then in the next few months to follow that, he was very much linked with a free move to Real Madrid, and this was before Karim Benzema left. So it's interesting that even since Benzema's departure, that Real Madrid didn't explore that a bit more. But yeah, look, the Saudis are building something. It's time for us to just accept this. We're going to see a lot more players moving to Saudi Arabia in the next 2-3 months and in the next few years, but definitely in this transfer window, we're going to see a hell of a lot more moving. So we're going to need to just wind our necks in a wee bit and think that maybe these players just want to leave for the money. Look, the money is ridiculous. If we were offered that money, we're not going to say no. Like, we'll have to be 100% honest. So we can't begrudge any of these players despite our own personal feelings towards it. But yeah, they're Al Ali's getting a good striker. They're getting a very, very good striker.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Look, he's definitely been an impactful player in the Premier League. No doubt about it. Put up big numbers for Liverpool, and really, I think if we're talking about Azpilicueta as a club legend to Chelsea, I think Firmino is definitely a club legend to Liverpool, and definitely a fan favorite. And I'm sure if he came to watch Liverpool games, he'd be welcome at Anfield anytime. Connor, look, he is the type of player that, like I said, he's not really an out and out striker, and he does sort of drop deep a wee bit more, can pick up the ball, play inside those wee pockets of space. More of like a regista. So do you think that game will translate well to Saudi Arabia, or could you see him possibly adopting more of like a striker profile now?
Um, I still think he'll play the same style, to be honest. Even as you were saying for Liverpool, he's such a selfless player, a hard worker, and it's something like 80 assists for Liverpool in like 300 games, which is crazy for a striker. Uh, I think it's actually good. I think he definitely could have played for a top side in Europe for the next 2 or 3 years, 100%. I think Liverpool were kind of looking to keep him. Um, Again, him, Mane, and Salah were unbelievable together, and he was part of that because he was selfless. Like he was helping them. Everything is build up play, coming for the ball, like freaking his work rate. Just a top player, and one that I didn't really like, to be honest, but just because obviously I'm a United fan. But again, like this Saudi thing, as we were saying, like you can't blame the players for taking the opportunity. I've seen even like Pogba's linked with this club and Mahrez, so they could be real contenders too. So I expect them just to like you'd expect him to dominate the Saudi league. To be honest, I expect him. Maybe he will score more goals, but again, if he gets players like Mahrez around him and Pogba, and then they have Mendy as well, the goalkeeper, like they're a decent side in that league. Like the way the Saudi league's going, I don't know if you guys agree, but like when Ronaldo said it could be a top 5, 6 league, like it could be the way it's going because they're signing so many players. But I actually be interested to see now the Saudi league because players like Firmino and if Mahrez goes and Pogba, like these are top players and they're not old. They're not 33, 34. They're still 30, 31. So even Pogba's younger than that. So I'd expect him to do really well at the club, to be honest. But I would like to still see him. He could even come back to Europe someday. I'd love to see him back because he is a top player.
Yeah, look, I mean the Saudi League. Yeah, look, we're going to see more transfers to it. I have another transfer to talk about to the Saudi League, but we'll get to that one later. And listen, this other guy that we're going to talk about is 26, 27 years of age. So I mean, it's not as if they're just signing guys that are like OAPs and well past their prime. They're signing guys in their prime. But moving it on, lads. Again, we're going to talk about a player to a newly promoted side and a player that I think we're going to talk quite fondly about because he is an Irish international, and it's Ogbene, and he has signed for Luton. Look, Luton, it's been a wee bit slow to get started, to get their business going, and look, I mean, when we look at their squad, you wouldn't necessarily say that it's Premier League quality as such, but look, they're taking a they're taking a risk with Ogbene. We've seen him play for Ireland. He's quick. I'll give him that. um, in front of goal, he who knows? Who knows? He might develop his game and he might become a good striker. But Oren, for the likes of Luton, it was a free transfer. It's no risk really. Could you see him coming into the Premier League and getting goals?
Um, like, don't get me wrong, I do actually rate Benny. I think he's decent. And I think especially in the last few Ireland games, like pre Evan Ferguson, he was probably our most like he was our biggest attacking threat probably. But yeah, as you say, he's quick.
It doesn't say a lot for Ireland, does it?
No, no, it doesn't. To be 100% honest, but look, he is quick. He's going to get onto the ball. He's the Black Irish Don James. So and if Don James can score in the Premier League, do you know what I mean? Ogbene is gonna score in the Premier League. But I don't know. I don't know. Luton on paper that don't look a good squad. To be 100% honest, I know that they're well net and they've performed well in the Championship in the last couple of years, but you need to improve in your squad. And like, if Ogbene's your first signing, you need to be making more statement signings like out there. Like this is a team that they won the playoffs. Do you know what I mean? You get more money for winning the playoffs than you get for winning the championship. So it's not like they haven't got money there to spend. You get like 250 million for winning the playoffs. So they need to be investing that money in their squad. But okay, I don't know. Look, fair play to him. He deserves to move, but again, it's a risky signing. He's the highest level of English football he's played is League One. So do you know what I mean? Like, he's not exactly insanely young. Like he's 26 or something. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably the riskiest transfer we have on this list today. Connor, look, he has played quite a few games for Ireland, to be honest. He does have international experience. And it's like I was saying, the one thing that he really does have going for him is he's absolutely rapid. Like he's electric. He's very, very fast. Look, and I think it does raise an interesting point that Oren just made there. Obviously, Luton do have a decent chunk of money from winning the playoffs, but I think the biggest thing with Luton, Connor, I don't know if you'd agree with me, is it might be harder for them to attract players. They don't play in a big stadium. They're in like Luton is a good sort of half an hour, 45 minutes outside of London. I know it still counts as London Borough, but it's not really in London. Like, do you think being able to attract players is going to be quite difficult for Luton?
Yeah, definitely. It is the Premier League though, so probably will get some players. Even like Nottingham Forest, they attracted a lot of players, and I know they have a bigger stature, obviously, but it's not the best place to live for a lot of players. But uh, with this signing, I just can't believe he's playing in the Premier League next year. To be honest, I looked at his stats last year. He's 8 goals in 39 games in the Championship, rather than him game 19th. He's obviously quick, but he can't finish. So it is a weird one. Is he going to start? Is the question. Uh, I think Luton, if they're going to start Ogbene, honestly, I think they'll be lucky to beat Derby's points total,
I agree. I agree.
because obviously they have done well in the Championship the year before. I think they got the playoffs, they lost, but there's some step up, and we've seen that in prior years, like with teams coming up and they maybe don't make that, them signings, and they struggle. And Luton need more experienced players in there, like Premier League proven players, because it doesn't seem they don't really have that. But you want Luton to do well because it'll be a good success story. Um, Obviously, Ogbonna as well, or he's came from League Two and he's made his way up. It is a good story. He went League Two, League One, Championship, and now he's going to play in the Premier League. He can't believe it. I don't think either that he actually got this move. But I think Luton are going to struggle this year. I think they're going to struggle to get players in, as you said, and they have a big budget, but it doesn't attract the players, and their wage structure and stuff like that. They seem that they are a very small club. Like, how many? It's like 12,000. Is it their attendance or something? It's not very much.
It's only like 12,500 or something they get.
It's very hard to get the players in. Well, I have seen with Bournemouth though, they have done okay with they only have like 12,000 or 11,000. But I don't know if you boys agree, but I think Luton will be lucky to get 15 points if they go with this squad.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for them, to be honest. I think beating Derby's points total, if they do, fair play to them, because at least that Derby side had like some Premier League experience in it. But look, if Luton, if they sack their manager halfway through the season, get Stephen Kenny in, you've got Collins and Ogbene up front there. I'm sure there's a few Irish boys who'll be happy enough to knock about there too. We could just have the Republic play in the Premier League, see how they get on.
Also, I thought Rotherham were in League One. I didn't realise we were in the Championship, so I apologise. So Benny's playing the Championship.
Well, yeah, they were in the championship. They just weren't very good in the championship, lad. Well, look, moving it on then, lads, to a signing that we're going to get quite excited about. It looks like this deal's either going to be today or tomorrow. So this comes out on Wednesday. So either Thursday or Friday, this deal looks like it's going to be through the door. And it's Andre Onana to Manchester United. Look, lads, in my opinion, I think this is a great signing. You only have to watch the Champions League final to see how good this guy really, really is. And I think he is going to come in and just change the way that United play. We're actually going to be able to play out from the back, and we might actually get to see Ten Hag football this year. Of course, we're still missing that big striker signing, but if you head on over to the Bottom Bins YouTube channel, guys, we have full breakdowns on Rasmus Højlund and Mason Mount. So head on over there to get those updates. But lads, yeah, just sticking with Onana. Oren, coming to you first. Competent shot stopper, excellent with the ball at his feet, incredibly confident goalkeeper. Perfect signing for Man United, isn't it?
Fully agree. Yeah, he's a perfect signing for Man United. And I think with this signing, it's really showed like the statement that Eric Ten Hag has made since coming to Manchester United. He's had some tough decisions to make, even with the Ronaldo one so early on in the season, and then now getting rid of club legend and arguably one of our greatest keepers ever, David De Gea. Like, that's a huge decision to make. But ultimately the right one, and the fans know it's the right one. So he's ruthless, but he knows what he wants. He knows how he plans to succeed at United. And Andre Onana seems to be the man that he feels it can play his style of football from the goalkeeper position. Yeah, look, he's fantastic. As you said, Champions League final, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He's so composed on his feet. And I do think he will have a similar impact as when Ederson came into Manchester City. We seen that huge shift in Manchester City whenever they had a ball playing goalkeeper. And I see all the memes about Onana being able to play midfield and stuff, that he's a real sweeper keeper and stuff like this here. So, but you know what? United do need that, especially with some of our centre backs, namely Harry Maguire, who's not quick enough. If we have a sweeper keeper, because David De Gea would never ever come off his line, he'd be too afraid of getting hurt. But Onana would come out and he'll rainbow flick fucking Calvert-Lewin or something. I don't know what the fuck, but yeah, it'll be a class signing for Man United. Big fee. Look, it is a big fee, but you have to invest in your squad. And as was said with Mason Mount, when it was a big fee, if you trust your manager, you know, it'll be worth it.
Yeah, exactly, lad. Exactly. You have to back your manager regardless, and this is definitely a sign in that progresses United. And in my opinion, I think it does take them to the next level in terms of being able to play out from the back and start attacks from defence, and that's what United have been unable to do. And look, listen, all of us here at the bottom bins, we loved David De Gea, absolutely loved him. But look, I think in terms of adopting our playing style and moving on to the manager's philosophy, this is exactly the goalkeeper that he needed. He's worked with Onana before at Ajax. We know how good he was during that 2018-2019 Champions League run. And his career, it did stagnate a wee bit when he got the ban, but he's went to Inter this season and been absolutely fantastic. Serie A goalkeeper of the year. Like, this is a serious signing, Connor. Look, 55 million euro the is what the package is being touted at. So it's coming in at around 49 million pounds. This is a guy that Inter signed for free. So for them, they've made big profit. But you still looking at this as an acceptable deal for Manchester United?
Definitely, as you said, it's to make that next level. We need a keeper like this. We've seen it with, as Owen said, Ederson and Allison was a really good example. They spent 75 million on a keeper, and it totally transformed their team. Obviously, they got Van Dijk in as well, but you know, if you get a keeper in there, as Owen said, like he's sweeper keeper as well. Like De Gea was trying to do that last year, but like still weren't that confident coming for the ball as well. He was like De Gea last season was poor. Um, and then he made a few errors. I thought like De Gea is obviously a club legend, and you don't want to you know, insult him too much, but it was time for a change and a player that's worked under Ten Hag, a player that knows his style. Um, it's a really, really good signing, I think. Obviously, price tag and, we don't really have a big budget, but that's what you have to pay. Especially like the one thing I was saying to you yesterday as well was like the De Gea is leaving. And then obviously Inter saying, well, you have no keeper. You're desperate for a keeper. You have to pay this. And that's what's happened. So again, United's great transfer market play there. But big signing. In the Champions League final, I thought he was exceptional. I thought he was Inter's best player. Um, Even like when he's lumping the ball up the field, he knows where he's putting it. Like he knows he's hitting that right area. And I thought like even he came for the ball as well. He controls the box, sweeper keeper. You see all the highlights of him. Obviously, he makes mistakes, but you're willing to risk that. You see Ederson, you see Allison. If you're going to make that next level, you're going to play that Ten Hag football. We need a keeper of his quality, and I honestly believe if it wasn't for that ban, he probably would be at like he would have. I think he would have just been at the top level. He would have probably went to like a Barcelona or something like that. But you know what? It's worked out. Anyways, came back, showed his resiliency to come back, go to Inter for free. He was on Ajax's bench, goes to Inter, wins their starting spot, plays brilliantly. As you said, Serie A goalkeeper of the year, 7 clean sheets in the Champions League, top keeper, and just exciting for United.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. He's 27 years of age. Definitely not old by any stretch of the imagination. Probably has another 7, 8 years as a goalkeeper at the top level in him. So this is definitely a sign in that United have got in at the right time. Moving it on then, lads, to another outgoing at Chelsea. Christian Pulisic has made his way over to Milan, like his fellow teammate Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I'm going to be honest, lads. I actually think this is a really, really good signing for Milan. I think he's 24 years of age. He's still young. Still has plenty of time on his side. He's the captain of the USA men's national team. Plays a different role for the USA that I actually think he's going to play at AC Milan. He actually plays more as a 10, like a bit of a creator, and he's very dynamic in midfield. And the one thing I always liked about Pulisic was even as a winger, he always tracked back and did his hard yards defensively. And I think Milan just need players that are going to come in and die for the shirt. And I think that's what Pulisic's going to do. From a marketability standpoint, it's excellent. Like you've got Captain America in there, AC Milan owned by Americans as well. So it was kind of that perfect fit, really. So I think at 20 million euros, Chelsea get a good fee for a player who is injury prone, and I think Milan have got a good player. If they can keep him fit, I really think he's going to help kick Milan on. Owen, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said. Like from a personal standpoint, I'm not going to say I rate Christian Pulisic. I don't think he's half as good as people make him out to be. But I think in terms of he needed to leave Chelsea to improve on his career and rejuvenate his career, and I think AC Milan is a good place to do that. Like as I said with Loftus Cheek, I think Loftus Cheek's going to go out there and tear house in Serie A, and Milan. in the last few years have been a powerhouse in Italian and European football once again. So he's going to, there's a good atmosphere about the place at the minute. It'll be interesting just without Tonali, who's going to, take that leadership role out there. But look, yeah, as you said, another leader in the dressing room, captain of the US national team, which that's a huge statement. Like, do you know what I mean? He's got good experience in European football, both in the Bundesliga and the Premier League. He's a Champions League winner with Chelsea. He's going to do well for AC Milan, and if he can provide goals and assists to my boy Olivier Giroud, I'll be happy enough.
Yeah, I mean, look, it seems as though AC Milan is starting to become the place for Chelsea rejects. But uh, look, he's joined Tomori. Tammy Abraham has gone out there as well. Milan have taken Bakayoko on loan. Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well. Olivier Giroud. They have taken, quite a bit from Chelsea over in Italy. So look, I do think this is a good sign, and I think he's not going to play as a winger. I think he's going to play as a number 10. He's going to replace Brahim Diaz, sort of in that just behind the striker role. Um, Connor, look, the one thing about Pulisic is he's quick. He's a decent dribbler. His dribble success rates are actually quite high. They're over 53%, and that's good in the Premier League because normally when players come to the Premier League, if their take on percentage is really high in another league, it does tend to drop. And that's just because we know the standard of defending in the Premier League is much superior to other leagues. So look, I think he's going to come in there. He's going to be able to beat men no problem, and he's going to be a creator in that AC Milan side. What do you think of him?
Yeah, obviously he came into. He obviously played for Dortmund, massive talent. Then he goes to Chelsea for 60 million. Has a very good first season. I seen he got like 9 goals, 4 assists. Wins the Champions League, but kind of dipped from there, as you said, injury prone. Last season he only played like 20 something times. He only had a goal and assist. Obviously all the players at Chelsea had a poor year last year, but there's definitely talented player there. I do think he is a bit overhyped because of the American thing, Captain America and all this kind of stuff. They have hyped him up very high, but he definitely possesses, as you said, like key skills. A good dribbler, has the pace, can score goals. Like in the first season of Chelsea, he was scoring goals and he was a danger for any team. And I think I would agree with you, lads. Like we've seen like Abraham, Tomori, they've went to Serie A and they've done unbelievably. And I would expect Pulisic to do the exact same thing. And in the Milan side that, got the Champions League semi-final last year, are really improving. Obviously they lose Tonali, which is a huge miss, but I would expect them to replace him. Milan's a very exciting side, and you have Leao and you have Giroud. They have a really good team, and I'd expect him to do very well if he can just stay fit. That is the massive thing. He's only 24 as well. Again, another player who feels like he's been around forever because he started off so young, at Dortmund. But uh, I think this is a really good move for him because I think his career was at a standstill. I think he was, I seen Leon were linked to him, but I like the Milan move more, and I think 20 million is definitely worth the risk. A 24-year-old that has had the career he's had, it's just going to be stay fit, play a lot of games, and he's going to be successful in Serie A next season.
Yeah, again, definitely another one that we're going to keep an interesting eye on when we're covering Champions League and stuff this year. So, lads, to the other player that has moved to Saudi Arabia, for those who were waiting in suspense after we talked about Firmino, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, arguably one of Serie A's top midfielders, and really has been a top midfielder in European football for 5, 6, 7 years now. He's going to Al Hilal, same side as Koulibaly and the likes of those boys. So he's going to be jumping in and playing alongside Ruben Neves in midfield. Look, this is a 27-year-old midfielder, Serbian international, made many caps for his country, has been Lazio's outstanding player for, like I said, 7 or 8 years. Um, the fee, 40 million euros, I think is criminal because this is a guy who is an outstanding talent. Oren, again, I feel like I am going to say this about every Saudi transfer, and I know what you were saying. Try and put your personal gripe aside, but like, this is a guy that really should be playing at a Real Madrid, a Barcelona, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, somebody like that there. Like, this is just what annoys me about this transfer.
No, I do understand. It's the same with Ruben Neves. Like these types of players, especially them two midfielders in particular, who their entire career were linked with that next big move for high fees, and they're never ever going to do it now because they've moved out there. As you say, 40 million euros. What's that? £35 million or something. Like United were quoted like £60 million in the last 5 years for Milinkovic Savic. He's been linked with the top clubs and it's been 60 to 70 million pounds. So I don't understand how they've come to that conclusion. It doesn't make sense to me. Um, I seen also bit of breaking news while we've been recording this podcast that Al Hilal, the same club, have had a bid of £30 million rejected for Alexander Mitrovic, and apparently they're not giving up on that transfer. He's meant to be their top striker target, so they're really going for it, and they're the club that seems to be spending the most in terms of transfer fees anyway. Um, but yeah, Milinkovic Savic, one of the best in Europe statistically anyway for the past few years, but he's one of them players that we're never going to see play for a top Champions League like competing side. And on a professional perspective, as I said, the exact same with Ruben Neves. I think he's wasted his career from a professional standpoint. But again, from a personal standpoint, it's hard to turn down that sort of money. So look, I can understand it in some ways, but I can definitely not understand it in a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think for myself, Warren, I'm more accepting of it when it's a player that's like 33, 34, and, they've passed their sort of peak. Like, but I'm looking at guys like Milinkovic Savic and Neves, and I'm saying, you really could have been at a top club. You could have been winning trophies, and you could have really been establishing yourself as like an elite level player. And it's like you said, Owen, like we're just not going to get to see that now. And Connor, I know what you were saying as well. Look, there is still a chance these guys come back to Europe, but the problem is when they do decide to come back to Europe, they're actually going to be 32, 33, 34, and past it. And is that really the best route for them to do? I don't think so. But look, Connor, look, Milinkovic Savic, he's put up excellent numbers for Lazio over his career, scores goals, assists, and really puts defensive pressures on, a really good ball recoverer. We've seen him in international football as well. He is the linchpin in that Serbian midfield. Al Hilal have definitely got themselves an excellent addition, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. And I would agree with you boys. I think a player that shouldn't be going to the Saudi League, a player that should be playing at a top club in Europe. I've seen they were looking 40 million for him. He's in the last year of his contract, and a lot of clubs just weren't willing to pay it. Which was surprising because you look at his stats, he's like over 50 goals, 50 assists for Napoli in the Serie A with over like 250 appearances. Like he is a really good player, as you said, underrated defensively as well, winning the ball back, very versatile, can make them late runs into the box, get goals. The Saudi they've definitely got a good player. Um, it was Serie A midfielder of the year. He's been in the team of the season multiple times. Like this is a top player. He's been at Lazio since 2015. Been linked to many Premier League clubs, many big clubs around Europe for years. Just never made the move. And I thought now probably would have been the perfect time to make that move, but he's decided against it. And again, you can't argue personally like these players taking this big money. But for me, a player that's probably just coming into his peak and he's going to go to the Saudi League is not really a wise decision for me. But uh, he's just a top player, and like he's known as like the sergeant by Lazio fans. He was loved there. He's a top player. The one I would have loved to see at United. He was always linked to like Barcelona, United, all the same clubs. I think I would. He's different a bit to Firmino because obviously Firmino's had that career in Europe. He's been a top player. He's won everything you can win. He hasn't really won that much with Lazio. He's never won the league. He's never really won any trophies. And he's never really, like Lazio haven't been a Champions League club either. So he's never played at the top level. And that is going to be disappointing. And it might be something he looks back on when he retires. Obviously, he's going to have a lot of money, but he might retire and be like, maybe I should have given it, a go at a top club.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Look, I think a lot of players that move out there are possibly going to be feeling that way. But look, I mean, when your bank account's absolutely stacked with the money from Saudi Arabia, I'd say at the same time they probably couldn't give a shit. So, Oren, just the last transfer that we're going to do very, very quickly. Arda Güler, the young Turkish sensation, really, that broke out this season for Fenerbahce, has been killing it at the international scene as well, has moved to Real Madrid, 20 million euros. This guy, in my opinion, I think is going to be an absolute superstar. I think he is going to be world class. Real Madrid, 20 million euros. Good move for the kid.
I'm not ashamed to say I've never ever watched the fella play. To be 100% honest, I've seen highlights of the fella. He looks good. Um, the only thing I can really say on this transfer is, in terms of young transfers, Real Madrid don't really miss. Like they're happy to spend these big transfer fees on kids from Brazil, even with Odegaard all those years ago, and now on Guler. So yeah, I can't see him missing. Everybody's saying, he's a regen of Mesut Ozil. Mesut Ozil said he's twice the player he was. So that's big talk. So he is going to have to prove quite a bit with this transfer fee and all as well. And considering the amount of clubs that were in for him, obviously Barcelona had agreed a fee with Fenerbahce as well, and that all fell through. And now he's went to Real Madrid. Um, he's not going out on loan. He said he's not going out on loan. He's going to fight for his place this year, which fair play to him. He's got his confidence anyway. So I hope it all works out for him. But yeah, Real Madrid don't mess with young signings, so I expect to see big things for this kid in the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. A very promising forward player. Some of his numbers, boys, like he's progressive passes over 7 a game, like crazy. Progressive carries over 7 a game as well. And yes, I understand that's the Turkish league. It is maybe a wee bit easier, but like in terms of being able to replicate that and doing that at Real Madrid and under Ancelotti, who we know can take young talent and just take it to the next level. Connor, are you looking at this one and are you thinking maybe Real Madrid have just picked themselves up a superstar in the making?
Yeah, I haven't seen much of him either, but you look at his stats, and this guy has the potential to be a world class player. He's only 18, 7 goals, 7 assists last year in the Turkish league. Um, an attacking player. He's left footed, I think, and he can play off the right wing as well. Turkish Messi, people are calling him. So it's going to be a huge, ask to reach that level, but he definitely has the potential. And obviously, as Zoran said, when you go to Madrid, you even look at like Vinicius Junior and Rodrigo, like the improvement they've had under Ancelotti. He's going to go to a top club, and I love that attitude. That kind of Ronaldo attitude when he came to United. I'm going to stay at this club. I'm going to learn here, and I'm going to succeed. So he definitely, and I seen Deco was he was raging that the Fenerbahce, the way that deal went. He knows he's missed out on a huge talent. So, and it's Madrid, like as Owen said, like they rarely miss. So I'd expect him to be a top talent, and you know this is the way Real Madrid are doing it. I think we had said that months prior. They're kind of going for these younger players, and just building them up and making them superstars instead of going for that like James Rodriguez route and Kaká where kind of fell apart. They're doing this new style to kind of get the young players in, build them up, make them superstars, and it's working. And I'd expect it to work for this player as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, that's going to do it for this week, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please head back if you haven't seen our first couple of summer transfer episodes. Please head on over there and do that there. We do cover some of the earliest deals in the summer in very good detail. As always, at Bottom Bins Pod, that is Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. There's been plenty of content put up there over these last few weeks, guys, so please head on over there and give us a follow. As always, we just want to say a big thank you for our recent views and just want to just a massive thank you really. We're really happy with how we're moving at the minute, and obviously that doesn't happen without your guys' support. So look, if you need it, want to drop us a message or give us some recommendations, or even if you want to tell us that we're talking shite, go on ahead over to our socials and let us know. As always, thank you for listening and keep it bottom bins.
Keep it bottom ends.
Keep it bottom ends.